Hello, and thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be touching on the topic of the power of one. Well, what's the power of one, you might ask? It's actually 5 elements, 4 of which we do on a weekly basis, and 1 we do on a monthly basis. It is the key to your success in BNI. It's the key because it's our baseline. It is our kind of go-to for the success of all of our referral partners in BNI. So let's go through the power of one, and then we'll talk about each individual one. First and foremost, you have attendance, attending your weekly meeting each and every week. We have referrals, bringing a referral to a fellow referral partner each and every week. Doing one-to-ones with another fellow referral partner in the chapter or a cross-chapter one-to-one. And then we've got CEUs, doing one CEU each and every week. We'll get into that in just a second. And then finally, our last one is one visitor per month. And as I mentioned, 4 of these elements are weekly, with the final one, visitors. Bringing one visitor per month is obviously done on a monthly basis. But let's talk through what those individual elements are. Again, we started with attendance. You must be present to win. We want you there each and every week. We want to build those relationships. We want you visible, right? If you're going to be in relationship with people in this room, building business relationships, you must be present. You must be active. You must be engaged. We want to see you. We want to hear from you. We want to get to know you. So showing up each and every week is an incredibly important part, baseline part of what you do in BNI. Then we go into the referral side, bringing a referral each and every week. That's typically why people join BNI, is for the referrals. Now, I know not everybody joins BNI or takes part in BNI for the referrals. There's a lot of elements. And I'm actually surprised at some of the elements of why people join BNI. But the number one is to build their business, and it comes through referrals. And on that other topic of some of the other reasons why people join BNI, well, we'll save that for another podcast. So we've talked about you must be present to win, bringing referrals for your fellow referral partners. Let's talk about one-to-ones, because this is a big one. This is the one where you really begin to build the relationship with one another. You get to know a little bit about each other, both from a personal standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. And ideally, if you're being very intentional with your one-to-ones, you're actually coming out with an action plan. What do I mean by an action plan? It's not like, hey, let's just go play golf and get to know one another, or, let's go grab lunch and hang out and get to know one another. Those elements are important. Building the personal relationship and finding out commonalities with people is incredibly important. But learning the business aspects of how your fellow referral partner actually does business, their thoughts on business, how they take care of their customers, all these things that we get to learn via a one-to-one is incredibly important. And it's really interesting because the statistics show, or at least the statistics that we've seen in BNI over the last 38 years, is that when individuals or chapters do more one-to-ones, guess what? Their referrals go up exponentially. Now, why is that? It is because as you get to know people, and as you get to know and trust and like them through building those relationships and learning more in depth on how they do business, their philosophy on business, how they show up in front of their customers, all of these things, it creates major confidence in you so that you want to be able to not only give referrals because you want to help this person, but now I've gained a little bit of confidence and trust to be able to pass on a referral with confidence, knowing that that person is going to take care of them because I've gotten to know them week after week and I've done one-to-ones with them. And it's not just doing one-to-one. It's not like a one-to-one and you're done. As you know, whenever you build a relationship, you're constantly interacting with them. You're constantly building rapport. You're hanging out with them. You're breaking bread with them. That's how we get to know people. And that's that huge element of doing one-to-ones. Let's talk a little bit about CEUs. What are CEUs? So in BNI, those are chapter education units. Now, I would imagine that for some of our listeners, or a lot of our listeners, you have continuing education units in your prospective area of business, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a real estate agent, a financial advisor, whatever element of business you're in. I would imagine that you've got to make sure that you're staying sharp in your area of business with your genre of business. So knowing how to continually educate yourself, because let's face it, we live in a world where things are constantly changing and growing. And if we're not up to date on things, we're actually falling backwards on things. So continuing educations, or what we call in BNI chapter education units, these are 1 hour units of education to be able to help us fine tune how we are and how we show up in BNI, our networking practices, how to do things better, how to show up better in front of my referral partners, how to make sure that I'm going the extra mile. What are some of the different elements of BNI, and how can I utilize those properly? These are elements of education to help us become better referral partners. And you will notice that the people in the room, those that have a lot of CEUs, tend to pass a lot of business or even receive a lot of business because they are really sharp and they are on their game and they know their prospective area of business, but they know how we do things in BNI. Because let's face it, whatever organization you're in, you want to be able to educate yourself in the ways of how they go about doing things. Whether you're, again, a dentist, a financial advisor, a mortgage person, a life insurance agent, whatever it is, we're continually fine-tuning our business acumen in different areas. And chapter education units specifically have to do with your elements of networking and how we do things and how you can show up better each and every week as you attend your weekly meeting, as you attend networking events and mixers and interacting with people. All of those things are incredibly important. Now let's talk about visitors, our final one. Now notice the first four: attendance, one-to-ones, CEUs, and referrals, all are done on a weekly basis. This final one is done on a monthly basis, or at least every month. And that is bringing a visitor to meet your fellow referral partners. Whether it's a chapter that's looking to grow, or there are some key people in the room that you want to make some connections to. So you're going to invite them to come and meet them at this coming week's meeting. You know what better way that when you meet someone and through this meeting, you're going, oh, you know what? My buddy Bob in my chapter, this person needs to meet Bob. So I'm going to ask Bob, or rather, I'm going to ask this person to come and meet Bob on Wednesday morning with me. I want to introduce Bob not only to someone specifically in the room, but to all of the other referral partners in the room. So our visitors are a great opportunity to allow our referral partners to shine, to be able to introduce them, to be able to give people an opportunity to do business with someone new. You know, it's almost like, I'm going to relate it to when visitors come into a chapter meeting, they typically will spend money with people in the room. Whether they join the chapter or not, typically they're going to meet various people in the room, and there's going to be some services or some business elements that they're going to want to touch base with those individuals on, which is why it's incredibly important to make sure that we're going out of our way to meet people outside of BNI in our everyday interactions, at a mixer event, on the field, at a soccer event for one of our kids, when we're on the sidelines, at a business meeting, or a family member or a friend, and then to be able to invite them into the room to introduce them to your associates, to your referral partners. Because one of two things, they could actually become a referral partner in the room. They might see they might see something that they like, which is hopefully the whole BNI meeting, the agenda, how things are run, and or they're going to meet people in the room that they can do business with. So these are some of the elements of the power of one. Now, over the next several months, we may touch on one and kind of go in depth on one of the elements of the power of one. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview, because the power of one in BNI is our baseline. It is our best practice, kind of that thing that we do every single week, every single element of what we do in BNI. Just like if you're a salesman, what are some of the things that we do on the sales side? You've got to make phone calls. You've got to reach out and connect with people. You've got to get to know your vendors and your suppliers. You've got to get to know the people, or the customers rather, that you want to be able to do business with. So there are things that you must do in order to do that. You've got to make so many calls per week. You've got to go out and meet so many clients per week. You've got to get to know your product and service, because you can be selling something, but if you don't know how it works and how it can benefit your customers, when you finally get to the customer, you're not going to know what to say. So you need to educate yourself on that product or service, just like we're educating ourselves on how to better network and better show up each and every week for our BNI meetings. So again, to cover the power of one, it is 5 different elements, 4 of which are done weekly, and the final one is done monthly. And again, that is attendance, showing up each and every week for your BNI meeting, 1 referral per week, 1 one-to-one per week, 1 CEU per week, and then finally, 1 visitor per month. You want to make sure that you're introducing people into the room to your fellow referral partners, because you never know, they just might want to stay and become a permanent part of your chapter to help themselves build their business, but also to help you build yours. So I hope you enjoyed a little bit of what the power of one is about and like. And I hope that if the power of one is new to you and you want to learn a little bit more about BNI, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is down in the show notes. We look forward to seeing you back here next week with another phenomenal topic. And I believe we're going to be doing a mini series on our BNI core values and how important it is to have core values, whether you're an organization, a small business, or even a solopreneur. The element of core values is incredibly important. So make sure you stay tuned for that future podcast on our core values. We look forward to seeing you back with us next week. And again, if you have any questions or want to learn more about our power of one, and or get invited to a BNI chapter, feel free to click on some of the links down below so we can help facilitate that for you. Hope you have a great week.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.